Beyond the Bell, Bloomberg's comprehensive cross-platform coverage of the U.S. market close starts right now.
And right now, we are 2 minutes away from the end of the trading day. Romaine Bostick, Taylor Rick, Sonali Basak counting you down to the closing bell. Here to help take us beyond the bell. It's our global simulcast with Carol Massar and Tim Stenovec, bringing together our audiences across Bloomberg Television and radio, as well as YouTube, as we parse the most crucial moments of the trading day. Anything happen over the last couple hours, guys?
Nothing at all. What a quiet day. Of course, Elon Musk finally getting this deal across the finish line, that deal for Twitter specifically. We were just talking with Hank Smith of Haverford, and he said, you know, it's very positive when you see a big deal like this actually get done. This is a big, big deal. And Elon Musk making it happen gives you some positive momentum. And he says that's what maybe you're seeing in the equity trade today here.
Yeah, he really said it changed the tone of what we saw with today's trade. And I got to go there. We started to see finally a bid for crypto this afternoon. After earlier today, Bitcoin was at its worst place that it's been at, the lowest price it's been at in 6 weeks.
Did you see Dogecoin?
I did see Dogecoin.
Yeah, there's a huge spike there. I guess people think that
optimistic
the joke
because
coin
of
will now be
Mr. Musk's
valuable. And the rocket ship. I think my favorite quote of all day is turning around Twitter is easy. It's not like it's rocket science, right? So sort of puts into some perspective here about a founder or a new maybe CEO. We still don't really sort of know who will take over, but someone coming in who certainly has experience. Romaine, as you take a look again further here on these broader equity markets, technology near the highs of the session.
Yeah, it's interesting, Taylor, to see some of these other stocks also like Snapchat rise. We talked to Brent Thiel over at Jefferies, and the point he made was that those advertising dollars moving over to social media platforms.
Yeah, you got about six of the S&P sectors are actually managing to finish the day here in the green. It's a huge turnaround from earlier in the day where you had 10 of the 11 sectors were in the red here. Let's walk you through the numbers here. The Dow Jones Industrial Average going to finish the day higher by about 0.7%, 250 points if you believe in Dow points. The S&P 500 higher by about 25 points or 0.6%. The Nasdaq Composite higher by about 166 points or 1.3%. The Russell 2000 also getting in up about 0.7%. And we should point out, of course, Twitter going to finish the day slightly higher here on the day at 51.69, but that's still below 54.20.
All right, I know we're going to get into the sectors in just a moment, and this is going to play out when it comes to the equity trade, but I've been looking at WTI crude futures because they were down almost 7% at one point. Taylor finishing the day down about 3% at 99.13 a barrel.
Carol, really interesting when we take a look at the sector winners for our radio audiences. We do every day. We try to dive two levels sort of deeper here to really understand sort of the internals here of the market. Hate to break it to you, maybe not surprising, media and entertainment, Carol, it is the top performer. You're still up about 2%. You have the semiconductors as well and software. So sort of big tech, actually, as we've been talking about, a lot of the big outperformers here. You're up anywhere from about 1.7 to 2% or so on the day. Down on the bottom of the screen, it could be sort of a classic sort of rotation trade here. You have auto components, energy, utilities as well. Those are some of the worst performers. You're off anywhere from about 0.5% to actually almost 3.5% here down on the day.
All right, so let's get to the gainers. I had to do Twitter. I did it before this deal was finalized. Twitter finishing off its highs of the session, but still up 5.6% to 51.69 a share. So below that 54.20 offer made by Elon Musk, but nonetheless, this deal getting done. Got to also mention some kind of either, possible deal flow kind of in the news today. Kohl's up about 5.3% in today's session. New York Post coming out and saying the owner of JCPenney, we're talking about Simon Property Group and Brookfield Asset Management, offering to buy Kohl's in a more than $8.6 billion deal, or about $68 a share, which would be almost $8 more than where the stock closed. Again, this is just some rumors out there from New York Post, and they are saying, according to people familiar, so we'll see whether or not. But this has been a one that has definitely been getting a lot of attention from activists. The stock is up about 21% so far this year. And then also in the social media space, Match Group up almost 7%. There's some speculation that this could be a potential target for Meta or Twitter. Traders have been talking about that, Seeking Alpha, writing about it, but nonetheless kind of out there.
Yeah, I'm glad you flagged those too, because there was a lot of deal activity. And don't forget about PS Business Parks, which of course isn't quite the well-known name here, but there was also a deal there by Blackstone to buy that company for about $8 billion.
Deals, right? When there's deals, it's kind of some positive thought about the outlook.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I wanted to keep an eye on shares of Tesla today. They actually ended up finishing the day down only 0.7%, but they were down more than 1.5% after this deal was announced. They were down throughout the day. Worth keeping an eye on these shares. Elon Musk is the single biggest owner when it comes to Tesla stock. He owns about 17% of the company. Tesla investors really are left guessing as to what the impact of this deal could be. Some have been worried that Elon Musk might have to sell some shares of his stake in the EV maker to pay for Twitter. Dan Ives over at Wedbush said earlier today that he does not believe the Twitter bid will result in a major sale, though, of Musk's Tesla shares. Digital World Acquisition Corporation, DWAC. This is the blank check firm that's set to merge with Trump Media and Technology Group, which owns Donald Trump's Truth Social. That down about 13% today. The concern there, of course, for shareholders is if Trump does go back to Twitter, then what would the point of Truth Social be, his own personal social network? Investors sending shares of that lower. We should note that Trump did tell Fox News today that he doesn't plan a Twitter comeback if his permanent ban ends. We all know never rule anything out when it comes to that, though. Netflix finished the day down by 2.6%, down for a fourth day in a row. Still moving lower even after yesterday's report, so it doesn't seem to have bottomed yet, or it didn't bottom last week, I should say. Shares are now down to the lowest level since January of 2018.
Tim, it's interesting. We'll go on over to the yield space as well. It was actually a pretty volatile day. At one point this morning, I had a great chart showing that, I know it's only Monday, it's the first day of the week, but we were still looking at one of the biggest yield declines that we hadn't had since about March and April of 2020. Now, all of that, of course, erased. At one point, we were down about 13 basis points or so on the day. You're still only down about 4, 5 to maybe 8 basis points or so, but certainly off the lows when we think about the yield lower. And really, this has reiterated a lot of the themes of a Federal Reserve that, of course, is clearly in focus as we think, Carol, about the macro picture, and then, of course, maybe sort of any boost that this gives to technology when you don't have to discount them at such higher yields, maybe a little bit of a boost to that sector today.
There's a headline crossing the wire, and we're going to talk Twitter ad nauseum here, saying that the Twitter deal is said to include a reverse termination fee. So effectively, Twitter, wow, I assume I'm interpreting this correctly, would have to pay Elon Musk or his entity in some way or another should they walk away. Usually it's the other way around, where the bidder effectively would pay a termination fee should the deal fall apart. There's a broader question here, guys. And I mean, I don't want to get too critical of the board here, but why this deal was accepted so fast, why there wasn't a little bit more effort to seek out other bidders here, and whether a 5420 plus a reverse termination fee, whether that is in the best fiduciary interest of existing shareholders.
Well, that's a good point. I mean, they've had a couple of weeks, right, to deal with this offer out there from Elon Musk. I don't know.
Carol, you've been in this business a long time. You know how long these deals normally play out.
2 weeks.
But Elon Musk is somebody, I mean, this is the guy who built the China factory, like, in record time. I mean, I think he was certainly out there. We talked with Leanna Baker. I think you guys did as well. I mean, Wall Street's been talking about this, right? And I'm sure everybody was looking into Twitter and whether or not they wanted to make an offer. I guess it's quick. I don't know. We shall see.
It's also important to consider that within the last year, Tesla shares had been as high as $73 a share. That was back in July of 2021. So a significant discount as to what they've traded at over the last year.
The only pushback, though, is that the past trading, and Tim, you know this, I'm not preaching to you, but that has no indication on the actual value. That all of the analysts that we've spoken to said this thing was $48 to $55 a share. No one actually thought that $75 was fair value for that company.
Well, and Twitter couldn't get above really the asking price by Elon Musk, right? So it's not like the street even thought that it was worth that.
And the thing is, 2 weeks, but every bank on Wall Street, right? I mean, every private equity firm was approached about this deal, and so many had passed. So you have to ask yourself, was this the only option left? And yeah, go ahead.
Well, that's the right question to ask here. Maybe there really wasn't anyone else there who was even remotely willing to come near that price. But again, it does the idea here that a board is supposed to be a little bit more thorough in this, and it gets to the idea of maybe some of Musk's criticisms of the board. The idea, at least in his words, that he thought that they were inept and that they weren't moving on things. The question is why maybe you didn't see a little bit more diligence on their part, not only to flesh out Musk's deal, but whether to see if there was anything else out.
Well, it makes me curious about their earnings report, that's coming up, because this is a company that for years we have talked about, all right, how do they monetize it? We all understand it. We understand how it works. We all use it a lot, but the monetization question has been out there for such a long time. So at some point, investors or the board has to say, maybe Elon Musk, he can shake things up and do it in a better way.
Okay, I got a question for you guys. Twitter shares closed at $51.70 today. They still closed shy of $54.20. What's the market saying about this deal? Why aren't they trading at $54.20, or at least closer to it?
We asked that exact question. The market said it's not a big enough enough discount to be worried about it. It's just a little bit, a couple dollars to maybe sort of get it behind the finish line, Sonali, that maybe even an SEC quick review. But I asked that question, Tim, because I was curious, and they said the discount isn't big enough to get worked up about it.
Yeah, and it's a merger arbitrageur's paradise, right? That delta. People will be making money off of that, too.
Mandeep Singh saying no easy fix to the business model. We know. We've been talking about this for years on Twitter, so it's maybe a longer-term story. All right, we did it, though, or Elon did it, finally. Of course.
Okay. Finally.
Not yet.
2 weeks.
As he tweeted.
I think there are a lot of lawyers
true.
and bankers out there that saying not just yet, not until they get their checks.
All right, we got to run. That's going to do it for our cross-platform coverage on this Monday on radio, on TV, and on YouTube. We'll see you again, same time, same place tomorrow.